I think number one, you have to make some quick decisions on changing out the leadership. If you've got to do some pretty quick assessments, and you've got to make some decisions on who should stay and who should go. In the case of Tyco, we made some very quick decisions, and we made a significant restructuring, undertook a significant restructuring, and did it quickly with not necessarily every last detail in hand before we made those decisions. I think they were the right decisions, but quick actions critical. I think once you make those decisions, and obviously kind of simultaneously, you've got to begin to restore trust and really rebuild what's been lost. In the case of, anytime there's wrongdoing in an organization, there's going to be people hurt. In the case of a public company, you've got shareholders, you've got employees, you've got management that was not involved in the wrongdoing, who's very hurt by, potentially what happened. And I think in that case, you've got to come at it with really honest, straight talk. You've got to do what you say. You've got to set a set of values and then live to those values without question. You've got to make hiring decisions to hire people that are beyond reproach, that don't have any flaws in their background, which is hard, whether that's at the board level, senior management level. And if you hire good, strong, ethical leaders in senior roles, you typically have a good shot at getting people that are ethical down the line. Make a mistake at any level, and you can be pretty well assured there'll be issues below that level. So it's really critical you get great people at the top. And then I think it's providing clear direction on what are the boundaries, what are the rules. If those, most cases where people go bad, the boundaries weren't clear. And, in the case of Tyco, there was not real clear delineation of what the board was authorized to do, what the management team was authorized to do, and what the employees should be, executing on. As a result, people were able to rationalize much of what they did. There was no boundaries to measure it against, and even though it was wrong, in many cases against the law, in many cases against good, sound business principles, they took place while employees watched. Employees who were processing wire transfers, processing accounting entries that should not have, should have put a stop to those things, but there wasn't clear direction. So getting those clear policies in place, training people on them, and then putting a good audit process in place to ensure you're monitoring whether those procedures are being followed is really critical. Yeah, that's a great question. It's a tough one to answer because keep in mind when the Tyco crisis occurred in conjunction with Enron and WorldCom, there was a collapse of the financial markets at the same time. So to what degree the ethical collapse inside Tyco caused the loss of market value versus the market itself, you can say a significant portion of it was due to the ethical collapse inside the company. That, I believe, today, 10 years later, has been restored. Now, within the first year, we recaptured about $8 billion worth of value, measurable not on earnings improvements, not on revenue improvement, but purely the recovery of the reputation of the company. We actually did a study to measure that outside of those other metrics. And that was very encouraging to us, which said, keep going. But I believe today, sitting back 10 years later, it's a 10-year process to restore that trust and really put it behind us. Yeah, I think let's start with the CEO. He's the chief spokesperson for the company. People outside the company, shareholders, people in communities are going to look for straight talk from him. That's his role, really, or her role. And his job or her job inside the company is to assess the character. It's like I said earlier, quickly assessing the character of people that were potentially involved in the wrongdoing, but more importantly, the character of people going forward. Who's going to be the watchdogs for the company going forward? The functional leader, the CFO, the chief legal officer, general counsel, chief HR officer, chief people officer, some people refer to as. Those people are really responsible for their function, what I'll call their functional leadership, which is really making sure that controls exist in their functions to monitor the potential for wrongdoing and make sure that they catch it if something does go wrong. More importantly, strong controls up front to prevent it. Then you go to the ethics officer, clear guidelines, clear training, and good monitoring to make sure, and really encouraging people that are doing the right thing, and then disciplining and making sure there's actions taken against people who don't do the right thing. And I think people that do the right thing, what we've learned is they want to see those who aren't being disciplined and the actual guidelines being carried out. And then last but not least, the mid-level managers. This is the most important level in the organization. People's morale, people's ability to be ethical is all related, more than anything else, to the relationship they have with their direct boss. And if you don't get the communication down and the training and get those people to act in accordance with what you want at the top of the company, the middle can cause a collapse of the company. So it's really critical you get that right at the mid-management level.